In this video, we're going to look at how we can export our finished track into a WAV file, as well as exporting individual tracks and the different settings we may use. Once our track's ready to export, the first thing we must do is select all of the audio we wish to bounce in the timeline. Something to note here is that the portion of audio to be exported completely depends on the area that you highlight by selecting it. We can now go to the File drop-down menu and select Export Audio Video. From here, we now get a dialog box with drop-down boxes for our export settings. First we have Rendered Track. This lets us choose which track we wish to export. We're usually going to leave this on Master, however we can select all individual tracks, which bounces all of the tracks down as separate audio files, including the return tracks. This is useful for creating stem files to send to other producers for remixes. We can also choose to export selected tracks only. This will only export tracks that we've highlighted. Finally, we can export individual tracks on their own. Next, we've got the Render as Loop. This is used if we only want to render a small portion of audio as a loop. This will effectively render double the loop so that it captures any of the reverb tail or the delay that bleeds over from the start of the loop. This will lead to a more natural flowing loop. Next in the audio section, we've got the file type selector. This lets us choose between a .wav format or a .a format from the rendered file. Next we have the sample rate and the bit depth. Standard CD quality is 44.1 kHz and the sample rate is 16 bits. We can also increase the bit depth up to 24 or 32 bits. 24 bits being quite a common setting to use. A general rule of thumb is that the higher these numbers are, the better quality the audio, especially in the high end. This is very hard to notice once you go above 16-bit 44.1 kHz sound, unless you have extremely well-trained ears. Next we have the dither options. This isn't really necessary unless you're using sample rates and bit depths higher than the standard audio quality. Without going into too much detail, dither adds a very low level of synthetic noise. It does this to try and smooth out the noise and artifacts that are added when reducing the sample rate and bit depth. Next we have the Create Analysis file. This creates an ASD file for if you ever want to bring the rendered track back into Ableton. Next we have Normalize. We'll usually have this turned off so it doesn't affect our final audio. However, with this turned on, Ableton will find the highest transient within the whole track, and it will bring the gain and the volume up of the entire track until this transient reaches unity or 0 dBFS. This means that we get the loudest possible audio that we can without any clipping and without any compression or limiting. Next we have Convert to Mono, which converts the final bounce from a stereo file to a mono file. We can upload directly to SoundCloud by pressing the Upload SoundCloud button. Next we have the video settings. From here we can choose whether to bounce just the audio or our entire video, and we can also specify the type of video encoder and format that we wish to use. If we press OK, we can now select the area on the hard drive that we'd like to save our exported file to. Please check out our website for more free videos, samples and content on Ableton Live.